Moving from human history to the nature of reality itself, one finds intriguing parallels between ancient cyclical myths and modern scientific theories. In physics and cosmology, researchers have proposed that destruction and creation might be cyclical at cosmic scales, echoing themes of death and rebirth found in mythologies. Although quantum mechanics and mythology operate in different domains, some theoretical models in physics curiously align with age-old narratives of cyclical cataclysms. One prominent example is Sir Roger Penrose's theory of conformal cyclical cosmology, or CCC. Penrose argues that the Big Bang wasn't a unique one-off origin of the universe, but rather the universe goes through endless aeons in a cycle. In this model, our current universe began after the death of a previous universe, and in turn, the extremely distant future of our universe will blend into the next Big Bang. Penrose and colleagues even claim to see evidence of this cycle, anomalous hotspots in the cosmic microwave background that could be signals from black holes that exploded in a prior aeon. If CCC is correct, our universe is just one stage in a potentially infinite cycle of cosmic extinction and rebirth. Notably, Penrose himself has drawn parallels to ancient ideas, acknowledging that an eternal cyclical universe is a bit more like older cosmologies than the standard Big Bang paradigm. In fact, cosmologist Novella and Perez Brigliafa observed that modern cosmologies divide between a one-time creation event versus an eternal cyclical universe somehow parallels that of the cosmogonic myths in various cultures. Many ancient traditions, from Hinduism's endless kalapas to the Babylonian and Egyptian belief in recurring worlds, imagined as a time-infinite series of universes being born, destroyed, and reborn. Today's cyclical universe theories, such as CCC or the Big Bounce in loop quantum cosmology, revisit those concepts with mathematics. For example, loop quantum gravity calculations suggest that the Big Bang may have been a bounce that followed the collapse from a previous universe, avoiding an ultimate singularity. These ideas remain speculative and are met with some skepticism by scientists, but they represent a serious attempt to incorporate cyclical regeneration into fundamental physics, much as myths have done symbolically. Even at the smallest scales of nature, quantum theory involves constant creation and annihilation, a sort of continuous flicker of existence that resonates with the cycles of destruction and renewal. Quantum field theory tells us that empty space truly isn't empty. It's seized with virtual particles that spontaneously pop in and out of existence. As one physics synopsis describes, quantum fluctuations that pervade empty space spontaneously give birth to pairs of particles and antiparticles, which usually annihilate so promptly that they remain virtual. In a stable vacuum, all pairs that are created are also destroyed almost immediately. An eerie microcosm of the create-destroy cycle. This phenomenon, confirmed by effects like the Casimir force, shows that at a fundamental level, nature is dynamic and cyclical. Some physicists have potentially linked to a quantum foam, where universes or particles bubble into being and dissolve. While this isn't a literal cataclysm, it illustrates that oscillating processes are embedded into reality. The stability that we observe is the balance of countless tiny births and deaths of particles at each moment. The frontier where quantum mechanics meets consciousness has provided a path that ties these concepts together. For instance, physicist Fritjof Capra famously compared the dance of subatomic particles to Shiva's cosmic dance in Hindu mythology, a rhythm of creation and destruction, akin to the pulse of the universe. Some quantum consciousness theories suggest that consciousness moments arise from orchestrated collapses of quantum states in the brain, potentially at a 40 Hz cycle, 40 collapses per second. If true, one could say that the mind itself operates by sequence of tiny quantum cataclysms. The oscillatory view of consciousness, periods of stability interrupted by sudden insights or phase transitions, is another area being explored in cognitive science, hinting that nonlinear jumps, somewhat like creative destruction, might underlie cognitive evolution as well. Moving from cyclical patterns in cosmology and quantum physics into the realm of consciousness, intriguing parallels emerge with persistent flood myths and other enduring archetypal narratives. Physicist and inventor Federico Fagan posits that consciousness may be fundamental rather than emergent, suggesting a deeper quantum foundation to the human psyche and its archetypal imagery. Similarly, Maria Friends, through artistic and philosophical exploration, underscores how ancient narratives might express subconscious experiences rooted in a universal quantum-informed consciousness, accessible to all humans across generations. Philosophers such as Alan Watts and ethnobotanist Terence McKenna have famously highlighted how ancient myths could encode deep experiential truths, possibly arising from quantum-like states of consciousness induced through meditation, ritual, or psychedelics. Watts described myths as humanity's intuitive grasps of reality's fluid, interconnected nature, paralleling quantum entanglement and wave-particle physics. McKenna expands on this by suggesting that altered states reveal hidden dimensions of consciousness, perhaps explaining the recurrent motifs of destruction and rebirth across diverse cultures. Further elaborating on this concept, contemporary researchers in quantum cognition propose that our brains might operate with quantum-like mechanisms, thereby influencing how we create and sustain collective myths and archetypes. This perspective aligns with the auric-aura theory advanced by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hamerhoff, which posits that consciousness emerges from quantum processes within neuronal microtubules, involving orchestrated objective reduction events at fundamental levels of reality. Such quantum processes could theoretically account for humanity's shared subconscious imagery and symbolic frameworks, transcending cultural and temporal barriers. Carl Jung's theory of the collective unconscious similarly describes universal motifs as inherent aspects of human cognition, further suggesting a potential quantum underpinning for these archetypes. Integrating quantum mechanics with psychology and anthropology, scholars increasingly view myths not merely as cultural artifacts, but as expressions of fundamental quantum realities deeply embedded within our conscious experience. This quantum interpretation may thus provide insight into why archetypal narratives such as flood myths repeatedly manifest throughout human history, resonating across civilizations separated by vast expanses of time and geography. That's all for today, so please like and subscribe and check out all the scholarly references that made this video possible in the bibliography in the channel bio. And I'll see you next time!